guys, welcome to Pure Yoga for the long hold strength class. So this is going to be taking quite a lot of the traditional poses on board, but holding them for a little longer than what we probably would normally. This actually helps build up a bit of endurance through the body and definitely some strength because you're holding the muscles in a compromised position most of the time. So you've got to really think about getting good alignment in this practice. So enjoy. Let's start in child's pose. So come in to bring your big toes at the back of the mat, bring them together, bring the knees nice and wide, bring the sit bones to the heels, reach the hands forward. We're just going to do a little warm up first before we start taking ourselves into those holding positions. We're going to be taking one pose at a time and then doing a slow vinyasa in between. Reach forward as you take a breath in. Push the sit bones back towards the heels as you take a breath out. If those sit bones don't reach the heels, not a problem. Just have an intention to make it there at some point, sometime in a lifetime. But if it never happens, that's cool. Take a nice long deep breath in again. Expand the belly on the inhale, let it drop in between the thighs. And on the exhale, let the body sink, draw the belly back. And let everything soften and ground into the floor. Your next breath in, walk the hands over to your right side of the mat, placing your left hand on top of the right and allowing that body to sink to the inside of that right thigh. Just take a breath here in a little lateral flexion of the spine and then bring those hands back through centre, taking them over to the opposite side. Bringing the right hand on top of the left, sinking that chest to the inside of that left thigh. Breathing into that rib cage on the right side and just feeling that exhale, grounding that body into the floor. Next breath in, walk the hands back into centre, take a breath out in neutral spine and then just take that scan of the body from the fingertips to the toe tips. Not trying to dwell on any areas, just noticing any tension spots, being mindful of any injuries before we start moving through a little bit more spinal articulation through tabletop position. Coming up onto the hands and knees, bring the heel of the hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, tops of the feet flat. Let the arms have a very soft micro bend. As you breathe in, bring up the head, bring up the bum, let the belly drop. As you breathe out, fold everything back in, the chin to the chest, the tailbone tucks. Do that a few more times to your breath. The inhale lifts the head, lifts the bum, drops the belly. The exhale folds everything back in, chin to chest. One more time through extension and flexion of the spine. And then fold it all back in on your exhale. Then bring it back to a neutral space, tabletop position. Let's do a little rotation. Lift the right hand up to the ceiling, stretch up and out, then thread that right hand in between the left hand and left knee. Bring the right ear to the mat, then bring that left hand up to the ceiling if the neck's comfortable, and then bring that left hand behind the back, maybe finding the thigh of the right or the back of the clothing, and keep pushing into that right arm, lifting that left shoulder, and we're going to hold it here for a few breaths in rotation. Maybe close the eyes. What sensation have you got in the knees? Are you pushing more onto the right side than you are onto the left? If you are, try and neutralise the weight back into that left knee. Keep pushing through that right forearm. Keep lifting that left shoulder. Long, easy breaths, thinking of some space being created on the inhale, and then that's a grounding and stability through the knees on the exhale. Just holding it for another couple of breaths. If you need to bring that hand down, bring it down if you need to support the neck more. Making that neck nice and strong as we're holding ourselves in this compromised position. Then bring that left hand back down to the floor. Push into that left hand. Reach the right hand up. Lift up the chest. Bring the sit bones to the heels. Bring the right hand behind you. Lift the left hand to the ceiling. Then lift up the hips. And we're going to hold the hips up here for a few breaths. Squeeze that that bum, stretch through the front side of the body, reach through the left hand, push into that right hand for support, still the tops of the feet pushing into the mat, squeeze that bum a little more to push those hips a little further forward, having this half camel pose, little back bend. We're creating strength now through the back chain of muscles. Holding it here just for another couple of breaths. And then release those hips back down, windmill the hands over, bring it back to tabletop position. Your next breath in, this time the left hand lifts, we rotate out to the left, and then we thread that left hand in between the right hand, the right knee, bringing the left ear to the mat. Push into that left forearm, find a comfortable space for the head and neck, and then if you have, lift the right hand to the ceiling, turn the chest to the right. Then maybe bring that right hand behind the back, finding that left thigh. Think about where the weight is in both knees. If you're pushing into more of the left side, try and neutralise it back to the right and find weight bear in both sides. Try and lift that shoulder of the right a little more by engaging those rhomboid muscles to lift and open that chest, the back posterior deltoid muscle to lift that shoulder. Keep pushing into that left forearm, stabilising and strengthening through those neck muscles. Holding it here for another couple of breaths. Still thinking about the weight in both knees, the twist of the waist, the turn of the shoulders. And then releasing that right hand back down to the mat, push into the mat, lift your left hand up to the ceiling, rotate out to the left side, then bring the bum to the heels, left hand goes behind, placed on the floor, right hand lifts, and then lift up the hips, squeeze that bum to keep those hips nice and lifted. So we're really engaging the glutes and the upper hamstrings to lift those hips. So the upper back chain of muscles are really getting some strength work out here. We're reaching up and back with that right hand. We're taking the weight into that left arm. So stabilise into that shoulder of the left side by really pushing strongly into that left hand. Squeeze those bums a little more to push those hips a little higher. Reach back a little further, maybe with that right hand. Full extension through that front side of the body into the hip flexors, particularly on that right side waist, right side hip, right side thigh, but also a little into the left side. One more breath here, and then release the bum down to the feet, windmill the hands down, either side of the mat, so we find that tabletop position. We're going to find our plank, so taking both feet to the back of the mat, lifting the knees if you wish, or keeping the knees dropped. The more you take the limbs long, the stronger and harder these poses become. So push the heels back, crown forward, push into the hands, push that chest cavity away from the floor to round the shoulder blades. So we have a little protraction through those shoulders. So we're actually using those serratus anterior muscles, those muscles at the sides just underneath the armpits to hold this compromised position. A little bend and softness in the elbows. Try and turn the eyes of the elbows inwards. When I say the eyes of the elbows, I mean the creases of the inside. And as you turn them in, that protects those wrists. It stops us going into hyperextension with those joints. Try and create a little space along the collarbones. Try and use those trapezius muscles to draw those shoulders down and back into those back pockets. Think about drawing that belly back, engaging the thighs to lift the kneecaps, squeezing the bum to keep those hips in that nice long line of plank. Holding it here just for a few more breaths. If it starts to get a little too much, just drop the knees, take the pressure off. Nice long inhales, long exhales. Then we're going to find ourselves in down dog for a fair few breaths. Lifting up the hips, just take a paddle of the feet first, just to allow those hamstrings to know They're going to go into a little bit of stretch. So we're going to think of that protraction of the shoulders again. So you're going to feel like you're taking a rounding through that upper back. But so it has no space in between those shoulder blades, because normally those shoulder blades have a little dip in between. But we're really trying to take that dip out. We're trying to tether the ribs and hips towards each other. Draw the belly back to give that centre support. Lift up the tailbone as high as you can go without making too much an arch in that lower back. If that lower back feels tight and you need to bend the knees a little bit, bend the knees. But think about the feet being hip width apart and the hands being shoulder width apart. Widening the fingers, pushing into the index finger, middle finger, little finger, thumb, the whole of that hand pushing down nice and strong into the mat. Gazing back towards the toes. Again, feel like you create some space from the shoulder blades. So you feel like those arms are coming away from the ears a little. And those shoulder blades again are being drawn down into the back pockets using those lower trapezius muscles to bring those shoulders down. Keep breathing nice, long, easy breaths in this downward facing dog position. In a couple of moments, we're going to start to take a very, very slow, long inhale and exhale vinyasa. So I'm going to do option 1 first, so you do have the options to take if you need to. Breath in, take a long breath in to transition through to a plank. Take a long breath out, dropping the knees, turning the creases of the elbows as you slowly make your way down to the floor. Untuck the toes, take a long breath in and come up to a little baby cobra. Squeeze the bum. As you breathe out, bring those toes to tuck the chest down, then the chest back to the thighs. This long breath out makes your way back to a downward facing dog. So we're going to take that again, nice and slow, so it's more controlled rather than throwing the limbs and the bodies around. And we'll take option 2. If you want to stick with option 1, feel free to do so. Take a nice, long, slow, easy breath into plank. And a long, slow, easy breath, releasing that body down to the floor with control, straight. Untuck the toes, push into the hands, a long, easy breath to lift up the chest, squeeze the shoulders back, and then a long, slow out breath to make your way back to your down dog, lifting the hips, squeezing those heels back. Last option, vinyasa, which we're going to take again really slow into our chaturanga arms. Stick with option 1 or 2 if you wish. If you're coming with me, take a long, slow inhale into a plank position. And a long, slow exhale to come to a hover of chaturanga. A long, slow inhale to lift up the chest, keeping the thighs away into your upward facing dog. And then a long, slow breath out to lift the hips, rolling over those toes, making your way back to downward facing dog. Holding down dog just for a few breaths. Encouraging those heels back, that protraction of the shoulders so we take that rounding through that upper back. Your next breath in, we raise up with your right leg, we bend the knee, we stack up the hips, and we're going to hold it here for a few breaths. Slightly longer holds, remember. So we're going to try and turn those hips a little more to the side. Keep the shoulders neutral to the front edge of the mat. The left heel squeezing down towards the floor. The right knee lifting up towards the ceiling. Engage the outside of that right hip to lift that knee up a little higher. And then realign those hips. Squeeze your right knee in towards your chest. Then look in between the hands, come onto the toes of the back foot as you step the right foot through. Help it through if you need to. Drop down with the back heel, shoulders and hips face forward. And then raise the hands, bringing the palms together, interlacing the last 3 fingers, but the index finger points up and the thumbs wrap. So think about that back heel drop down internally, and we're pushing into the outside edge of the left foot, but also into the big toe side. That back leg straight with an external rotation of that left hip. We then bend a little deeper, maybe into your right knee, thinking of that right knee coming close to stacking over that right ankle. Then think about those ribs. Try and draw them back so we're not flaring the ribs and dumping into that lower spine. Think about then a little extension up through the upper part of the spine. Shoulders are drawn back, arms back by the sides of the ears, reaching up tall with the hands, relax down with the shoulders, pushing nice and strong into both feet, holding it in this warrior one position for a few extra breaths than what we're used to. Sinking the hips maybe a little more if you can, making sure you're encouraging the right hip back, the left hip forward to get a good alignment of the pelvis. Try and push stronger into those feet, into those floors. Keep those shoulders relaxed and down. Think about them being drawn into those back pockets. One more breath here in those warrior two spaces. Sorry, warrior one space. Then release those hands down. Then come onto the toes of the back foot, raise that right leg up to the ceiling, keep the leg straight, and then release it down to meet the left. We're going to take one of those long, slow vinyasas. I'm taking option 2, coming forward to plank on your inhale, and a slow release down to the floor on your exhale. Your long breath in brings you either into a baby cobra or an up dog, and then your long breath out takes you back, whichever variation you wish, back to downward facing dog. All to repeat on that left side with warrior one. So we lift up with that left leg. We bend the knee, we stack the hips. The right heel is encouraged down to the mat, right leg straight. The left knee is lifting up to the ceiling by squeezing the outside of that left hip to lift that left leg high. The left foot's pushing towards the right side of the room. Hips are turning to the left and the shoulders are nice and neutral. We're trying to find strength in the pose to hold. We're taking a lot out of the shoulders, holding these downward facing dog with one leg. Lift that left knee maybe up a little higher, turn the hips a little more, and then realign the hips, bring your knee in towards your chest. Take a gaze in between the hands and bring that left foot through. Stay low in the hips, drop the right heel towards the inside of the mat, raise the arms up, bring the hands together, interlace the fingers, maybe wrap the thumbs slightly differently. Index finger points up. Reach up through the hands, drop down through the shoulders. Hips and shoulders facing forward. Encourage your left hip back, your right hip forward. Pushing into the outside edge of the right foot and the big toe side. Sinking into that left knee. Pushing into the floor. The left knee stacking over that left ankle or somewhere close. Finding that warrior one position. Keep squeezing the palms together. Keep releasing the shoulders down, squeezing those trapezius muscles to bring the shoulders into the back pockets. We're using those deltoid muscles to lift the arms, the tricep muscles to straighten the arms. Push nice and strong into both feet. Maybe gaze up to the hands if you wish. Try to bring the arms back without flaring the ribs. Try and keep that core center nice and strong, nicely engaged. Don't dump into that lower back. One more breath in this position. And then slowly let the hands come down towards the floor. Lift up with that left leg, up to a one-legged downward facing dog. And then bring that left foot to meet the right. A long, slow vinyasa of your choice. Coming forward to a plank I'm taking option 3. I'm releasing to a hover with control. Rolling through over the toes, lifting the chest on a long inhale, and then making a long exhale back to downward facing dog, lifting the hips, squeezing those heels back. Try and find that good down dog position. Try and round that upper shoulder blade so we've got no space dipping in between the shoulder blades. The hips are lifting high, the ribs and hips are tethered. We're trying to keep those heels coming down towards the floor with nice strong arms holding this pose. Your next breath in, raise up your right leg, take a bend into your right knee. We're holding it in this one-legged dog, turning the hips, shoulders neutral, left heel to the floor, squeezing that right knee up as high as you can, using the outside of that right hip. Gazing back towards those left toes, and then realign that hip, bring the right knee in towards the chest, take a gaze in between the hands as you step your right foot through. Drop down that back heel and we'll windmill the arms all the way up and over to find your warrior 2 position, which we're going to hold for a fair few breaths. Let's start at the feet. Right toes pointing to the short edge, left toes pointing at a slight diagonal to the long edge. We bend into that right knee and we turn that right knee out to the outside, the right side of the mat. So we can see those big toes on that right foot, just on the inside of that right knee. We try and bring those hips nice and low to be in line, maybe with that knee, so we can bring that right thigh parallel to the floor, or bringing it somewhere close. We feel like we're energetically pushing into the outside of the back foot, the whole of the front foot. We're reaching out through the waist, but we're trying to keep a rib and hip tether, the bum tucked under, the spine tall, the crown pointing up, and we're trying to feel like we're tucking that right bum cheek under. Lengthening through the arms, right arm to the front of the room, left arm to the back of the room, shoulder height, holding this warrior 2 for a few more breaths. Maybe sink those hips a little lower. Think about where the crown of the head is. Is it in line with the whole of the spine down to the tailbone? Not reaching too far forward, not reaching too far back. Holding it just here for another breath. And then windmill the hands down with control. Bring them either side of that right foot. Come onto the toes of the back foot. Raise that right leg up to a one-legged downward facing dog. And then release that right foot to the floor. Find your down dog legs. Find a long breath in, coming forward to plank position. Keep that core center nice and strong. Then release to the floor. I'm option 1. Making sure you turn the creases of the elbows as you slowly release that chest to the mat. Untuck the toes, bring yourself into a little baby cobra. On a long inhale, on a long exhale, you slowly make your way back to your downward facing dog. Lifting the hips, squeezing those heels back. So the intention of this practice is to go slow. It makes us use most of the muscles rather than speed of the limbs being flown around. So with me going slow in those vinyasas, there is a reason behind it, to try and get that muscle strength. So it's more of a strength and conditioning class with long, strong holds. Next breath in, raise up your left leg. Take a bend into your left knee. Turn your hips, lift your left knee up nice and high. Keep the shoulders in line with the front edge of the mat. The right heel squeezing down to the floor, the left hip lifting up, opening out to the left side. Feel the weight equally in both hands. Twist from the waist a little, but keep the shoulders in line. Then bring that knee into the chest. Take a gaze in between the hands as you step your left foot through. You drop down your back heel, you windmill the arms slowly, using those oblique muscles to bring those shoulders over the hips. Soften into that left knee, push into the outside edge of the right foot, left knee over the left ankle, left thigh as parallel to the mat as you can take it. Shoulders and hips are turned to the right. The gaze is maybe to those left fingertips as a focal point. When you're holding these poses for longer, it's always good to have a concentration point. And the fingertips is usually the place we look at on that front hand with Warrior Two. So again, push and hook that tailbone down. That left bum cheek tucks under. We tether the ribs and hips towards each other. That gives us nice core strength in the centre of the body. Grow out of the waist, lengthen up through the spine, up through the crown. Shoulders are relaxed, but the arms are long. Reaching as much as you can to the front and back of the room with the fingertips, still maintaining a bend into those knees. Remember, if at any point you need to come out, maybe just straighten the leg and come back in. It will just relieve that pressure a little. If you need to drop the arms and swing them and then bring them back, whatever works for you. You don't have to torture yourself. We're just trying to challenge yourself. If you start to feel like things are getting a little too intense, maybe just give it another breath, and maybe I'll be bringing you out by then. Just feel that body working, maybe shaking a little. Your next breath out, windmill the hands down, nice and slow to either side of the left foot. Lift that left leg up to the ceiling to our one-legged down dog. Then bring that left foot down to meet the right. With our feet being hip width apart, shoulders and hands are in line with each other. Soft elbows, pushing strong into the hands, pushing strong into those feet. Long, slow vinyasa of your choice. Coming forward to plank on your inhale. I'm taking option 2, slowly releasing down. Elbows, graze those ribs as you come to the mat, untuck the toes. Push into the hands, lift up the chest. If you're in up dog, squeeze the shoulders back. Maybe from here you want to take it straight over those toes, lifting those hips, squeezing the heels back, or bringing those chest to thighs and making your way back to down dog through that transition. So we're going to take a different pose again, which we're also going to hold for a few fair breaths. Weight into your left foot, raise the right foot up to the ceiling, turn, bend the knee, turn the hips, shoulders stay neutral, left heel to the floor. Try and squeeze the outside of that right hip to turn that hip a little more. Squeeze that right foot in towards the bum and then over to the left side of the mat. Long breath in, long breath out. Then realign those hips, slowly bring that right knee into the chest. Take a gaze in between the hands as you step your right foot through. Drop down your left heel to the inside of the mat. Bring your right hand to the inside of the right foot. Left hand onto the shoulder. Turn and twist the waist. So shoulders and hips are facing to the left. Then reach the left hand up to the ceiling and then reach it forward to the front of the mat, either staying here in side angle stretch, or if you wish to come into a bind, bring your left hand behind, your right arm under, maybe find the fingertips behind the back, keep the chest wide to that left side of the room. Try and keep some length down that right side of the waist. Keep strong in the neck by keeping the head in line with the spine. Energetically push into the left foot, energetically push into the right foot, holding the side angle, bound or unbound, whichever seems to work better for you. The bound version is a lot stronger as you've got no outside help for holding the torso. It's more about using the obliques to hold this space. That right knee stays bent, the left leg is straight, right toes facing the short edge, left toes facing the long edge. Keep those chests turned out and open, the hips pushing forward, the shoulders pushing back, so we get that nice long line. probably fit in between two pieces of glass. Holding it here just for a few more breaths. You're probably starting to feel a little fatigue in those right thighs. If you are, release out. If you need to, we'll meet you back in down dog. If you're still with me, holding just for another couple of breaths. And then release the hands from a bind if you're in a bind, or just bring both hands down to either side of the right foot. Lift the right leg up to the ceiling. Bring it back down to meet the left, having the feet hip width apart, hands shoulder width apart. Long, slow vinyasa. Come forward to a plank position. Keep that core center strong, belly drawn back. Push the chest away. On your out breath, I'm taking a hover of chaturanga. Elbows graze up the ribs. And then we roll through, keeping the thighs away, finding your up dog on the in breath, finding your down dog on your out breath. Maybe those thighs are feeling a little burny now on that right side. Ready to take that feeling through the left side. Take a breath in, raise the left leg, keep the right heel to the floor. Left leg lifts and then we bend, then we stack and we hold it in this one-legged down dog. Lifting and squeezing the outside of that left hip, lifting the left knee as high as we can, shoulders neutral, left heel pushing across to the right side and then into that right bum cheek. Holding just for another couple of breaths. And then realign those hips, bring that left knee into the chest. Keep the hips high, come onto the toes of the back foot as you step your left foot through. Drop your right heel down internally. Your left hand comes to the inside of that left foot. Right hand on the shoulder. Turn and twist the shoulders first. Navigating with the right hand. Then reach up with the right hand. Then reach forward to the front of the mat with the right hand. Either staying here in that side angle stretch with a little support of that left hand, or you bring your right hand behind. Maybe you just want to do a half bind. Maybe you want to do the full bind and take that left hand under, find those fingertips. Lengthen the left side of the waist, twist the shoulders to the right, push energetically into that back foot, push strong into the front foot, left knee's bent, hopefully that knee is close to stacking over that left ankle. Head in line with the spine, find a little space on that left side of the waist rather than collapsing over that left thigh. Twist those shoulders, maybe a little more. Push that left bum cheek under and the hips forward, the shoulders back, stacking the right shoulder on top of the left. Feel that strength in that left quad, that left thigh. Feel the strength in the oblique muscles at the waist, holding the body in the compromising space. Nice long, easy breaths in. Try not to let those breaths get short. The shorter the breath becomes, the more you're challenging yourself. But to get that calmness of the mind, make those breaths longer. If you're ready to come out, feel free to come out. If you're staying with me just for a couple of more breaths, we'll all meet back in down dog. Starting to feel that burn through that left thigh. One more breath here. And then release those hands down either side of the left foot. Lift that left leg to the ceiling. Bring it then back down to meet the right. Slow, long vinyasa. I'm taking back option one. Coming forward to a nice strong plank. I'm dropping the knees. Elbows graze the ribs. Untuck the toes. Push into the hands, lift the chest. I'm coming into an up dog rather than a baby cobra. Then I'm going to roll straight over those toes to lift those hips, to squeeze those heels back or bring chest back to thighs. So taking a different pose now to hold. It'll be triangle pose, so it will take a lot out of those oblique muscles to hold it in that space. Find that good strong down dog. Push that chest into that space between the shoulder blades. Try and feel that length through those arms, pushing strong into that floor. Next breath in, raise up your right leg. Keep the shoulders stable as you turn the hips. Push your right foot to the left. Right hip stacked on top of the left. Try and squeeze that right foot towards that left bum cheek. Activate those hamstrings. One more breath here. Then realign those hips. Bring your right foot in between your hands. Drop that back heel. Just bring that foot slightly forward. Windmill the arms up and over and straighten through that front leg. Toes facing the long edge of the front foot. Short edge of the front foot. Long edge of the back foot. Reach forward with the right hand. Bring that right hand to the inside of that right shin. Left hand points up to the ceiling. And then see whether you can create a little space down the right side of the waist. Try not to hyperextend that right leg. Keep that micro bend in it. Try and tuck that right shoulder under, left shoulder back. Keeping that head in a long line. Fingertips pointing up to the ceiling of the left hand, down towards the floor of the right hand. Feeling that strength in the body to hold the pose. Drawing the belly back. Creating strength in those waists. Strength in those legs. The gaze can be up to that thumb if the neck feels happy to do so. You can feel that body warming as we're holding these poses. Quite often you get a lot warmer when you hold. It takes more out of the muscles, can make you sweat a little more. Holding in triangle just for another couple of breaths. Then your next breath in, bend your front knee, bring both hands down either side of your right foot. Lift that right leg to the ceiling, straighten through that top leg. Then bring it back down to meet the left into our downward facing dog. Slow, long vinyasa. Come forward to plank on your inhale and slowly release down to the floor. I'm taking option 2, or bring it to a hovering chaturanga. Untuck the toes, push into the hands, lift up the chest, squeeze the shoulders back. Then release back down, tuck under those toes, bring those chests back towards those thighs. Push into the hands, push into the feet, lift up the hips and squeeze those heels back. So we'll be taking triangle pose now on that left side. Find that good alignment of down dog, holding it here just for a couple of breaths. Your next breath in, we raise up with that left leg. We take a bend into your left knee. We turn the hips, push the left foot to the right side of the room. Shoulders neutral. Squeeze and twist through that waist. Left hip stacking on top of the right. Then realign those hips. Bring that knee in towards your chest. Take a gaze in between your hands and step your left foot through. Drop down the back heel. Walk it in slightly. Windmill the hands up and over, straighten that left leg. Then reach forward with the left hand, bring it down to the inside of that left shin. Right hand lifts. We're going to feel like we're in between 2 planes of glass here. So right shoulder stacks on top of the left bum cheek tucks under, the right hip turns out. Try not to go into hyperextension in that left knee. Try and use the muscles above it to support it. The gaze up towards that right thumb. Create a little space along the left side of the waist. Try not to let that right shoulder creep up to the ear. Send it to the back pocket. Easy breaths in, long breaths out. Pushing the hips to the right, the shoulders to the left. Creating that long line from the right fingertips down to the left fingertips to create that space in the chest. Feeling that stretch through that right hip as we're folding over that left leg. Try and switch the mind to the breath. If ever thoughts come into the head, always knowing you can come out at any time, but if you want to challenge yourself and it's definitely not injuring yourself, then feel free just to hold it there before you come out. If you feel you want to come out, see if you can give it a few more breaths. Long and easy inhales and complete exhales. And then taking a bend into your left knee, bring both hands down either side of the left foot. Lift your left leg up to the ceiling, squeeze the right heel to the mat, then bring that left foot down to meet the right and take a long, slow vinyasa with control, coming forward to plank on your inhale and releasing down either to the floor, either dropping the knees or hover. Roll through, up, lift up the chest, whoops, cramp. And then make your way back to down dog, lifting the hips, squeezing those heels back. Long breath in, long breath out. Feel like you're pushing those hands into the floor, creating space between the collarbones, shoulder blades pushing back. Next breath in, raise up your right leg. We're taking another pose on this side, which will be lizard. Bend the knees, stack up the hips and hold it in that one-legged, three-legged down dog. Shoulders neutral, hips are turned, waist is taking the rotation. Then realign those hips, right foot to the outside of the right hand. Help it down if you need to. And then stretching that left heel back, keeping the left knee lifted, sinking the hips as low as you can go. Squeeze that right knee in towards the right shoulder. Then push the hands into the mat to protract those shoulders, pushing the chest into that back body. Sink the hips low still, but keep that chest pushing away. Keep that head in line with the spine, don't let it drop. Use the muscles in the back of the neck to keep the head lifted. Long, easy breaths. If you wish to close the eyes, close the eyes. Make that right leg active by pushing it into that right shoulder. Keep those hips low. Think about pushing into that big toe side on the right foot and the little toe side. So we've got a good grounding in that right side. The toes of the back foot are pushing into the mat, the heels pushing back as far as you can. Try and engage the thighs on that left leg, lifting that kneecap. Long, easy breaths. Try not to extend those elbows. Use the biceps and triceps to support that joint. Holding here just for one more easy breath. And then stepping that right foot up to the ceiling, lifting up as high as you can go. Then bring that right foot back to meet the left. And take a round of vinyasa, slowly of your choice. Coming forward to a plank. I'm going to option 1, dropping the knees, turning the creases forward of the elbows, grazing the ribs. Push into the hands, little baby cobra, spread through the chest. Release back down, tuck under the toes, bring those chests back to the thighs. Push into the hands, push into the feet, lift up the hips, squeeze those heels back. Taking lizard on the left side, but just allowing your down dog first. Relax the shoulders. Quite often down dog becomes a restorative position once you've got used to it and the shoulders are feeling a little stronger. Your next breath in, raise your left leg. Take a bend into your left knee, turn the hips, right heel to the floor, shoulders neutral, pushing the chest back to the thighs, lifting that left knee a little higher by using the outside of those left glutes. On long, easy breaths here. And then realign those hips, bring your left foot to the outside of the left hand. Help it if you need to. Squeeze the left knee in towards the left shoulder. Push the right heel back to straighten the right leg and sink the hips down. Push into the hands, push the chest away from the floor to make a good strong shoulder joint. Drop the hips maybe still a little further. Straighten the back leg a little more if it's not. Squeeze that left knee into that left shoulder to feel that activation through the inside of that left thigh. Push into the big toe, push into the little toe, into the heel. The whole of that left foot pushing into the mat. Wide fingers, soft elbows, contraction of the glutes and the upper hamstrings on that right leg. Holding it for a few breaths in lizard lunge. One more breath here. Then lift that left leg back up to the ceiling, straighten through the leg, bring the left foot down to meet the right, find your down dog, then take your long, slow vinyasa, coming forward with a long inhale to plank, releasing down either to hover or to the floor on a long exhale. Roll through, up, lift up the chest. Make your way back to down dog, either lifting the hips or bringing that chest back to the thighs. And making your down dog nice and long from the fingertips to the heels, up to those bums. And we're going to take another singular pose with the right side. So your breath in, we raise your right leg, we bend your knee, we stack up with your hips and turn the hips to the right. Shoulders neutral, left heel squeezing to the floor, right heel squeezing to the left bum cheek. Long, easy breaths while we hold this three-leg down dog. Really asking a lot of our bodies as we take them into spaces that they're not usually going. Realign the hips, bring the knee into the chest. Gaze in between the hands as you step your right foot through. Stay on the toes of the back foot. Bring your shoulders up over the hips. Bring the hands together at the chest. Left elbow, right knee. Taking the lunge rotation. Use that left elbow to make a twist. Try not to let the left hip drop down. Keep bent in your right knee. Length through your torso. Twist from the waist. And then feel like that right shoulder stacks on top of the left. Maybe the gaze is to the right side or up and back if you wish to challenge the balance a little more. Keep using the hands to encourage more twist. The left elbow, the anchor to help support that twist. Holding for a few breaths. Trying to keep the hips low, pushing strong into both feet. Using that core center to hold yourself in an equilibrium, a balance, a central point. Moving our bodies through all planes of movement. Maybe that right thigh again is starting to fatigue. Maybe not. Maybe you're strong as an ox. Maybe the bum cheek on that right side is starting to burn. These are all sensations that I'm getting right now, so I thought I'd share them with you. One more breath. Then release the hands down. Lift your right leg up to the ceiling. Bring it back down to meet the left. Take a long breath, vinyasa. Forward to plank on a long inhale. I'm taking it to a hover on the exhale. Rolling through, up and lifting the chest. Inhale. Back to down dog. On your exhale. And again, we raise your left leg. So we'll be taking that high lunge rotation on the other side. Left foot squeezes to the bum, right heel squeezes to the floor. Hips turn, shoulders neutral, holding it in that three-legged dog. Lift that left knee a little higher maybe, squeeze the outside of that left bum cheek. Then realign those hips, gaze in between the hands, bring your left foot through, stay low, raise the arms, maybe reach up a little bit, stretch the side of the waist, and bring the hands together, right elbow, left knee. Use that right elbow to hook, the hands to twist you, the hips stay neutral, right leg straight, front knee bent, left knee over that left ankle. Elongate on the inhale, find the rotate on the exhale. Relax the shoulders, draw them back, lengthen through that right hip flexor, squeeze that right bum cheek, push into the floor with both feet. My body is getting really hot right now, from the top of the head down to the toes, and no, it's not my age. It's all about this muscle control, making that body work, finding that position of the bodies that challenges different muscles. One more breath here. And then release those hands down, lifting that left leg up. Bring it back down to meet the right. A slow vinyasa with your breath of your choice. You're starting to know really where you're going with these vinyasas. So I'm not going to cue everything from this point. Just feeling the body, maybe closing the eyes. Noticing all those muscles that engage when you transition from one place through to the other. The close of the eyes makes you switch a little more internally to know what's happening and working within the body. So take a gaze in between the hands, take a bend into the knees, step or jump to the front of the mat. Just allow that body to fold over the legs. Just let go of the neck, hold on to the elbows, soften the knees, make circles with the elbows in one direction, make circles in the opposite. And release the arms to be heavy. Have the feet hip width apart. We're going into chair. Bend the knees. Bring the seat down. Bring the arms to the ears. Tuck the tailbone down. As you raise and lift that chest away from those thighs. If those shoulders aren't happy being with the arms lifted, just bring the hands to the chest. Keep low in the hips. If you want to challenge a little more, lengthen the limbs, sink the hips a little lower, switch those thigh muscles on, bums tucked, bellies back, sink a little lower again, maybe a little lower again. Try not to hold the breath. Maybe sink down a little more, feather-like turch in those toes. Maybe a bit lower. Burn through those thighs. Concentrate on the breath. And fold over those legs. Allow everything to relax and let go of the neck. Stepping your right foot back, your left foot back, sorry. Walk the hands around towards your left side of the mat And then find yourself in a wide leg forward fold. You can place a block underneath here if you wish. Bring the hands to the floor. Half fold position. When you've found the lift of the kneecaps and the engagement of the thighs, see whether you can bring the hands away, engage the centre of the body as you hold yourself in a half fold wide leg position, using those back muscles to keep that space. The head coming forward towards me, the bum's lifted. We're trying to feel the weight in all points of the feet, the outside edges, the inside edges, the heels, the toes. Using those deltoid muscles to lift the arms, the tricep muscles to straighten the arms. Using that core centre, drawing that belly back so it's not sagging to the floor, so it will hold you and support that core centre. By squeezing the thighs, activates the legs, activates the bum, helps you hold this position. Holding it for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the hands down, let the head fold over, stretching through that back chain of muscles. Long breaths in, long breaths out. Have a little nod and a shake of those heads. And then slowly bending the knees, curl up through that spine, bringing yourself all the way up to a standing position. When your shoulders come over the hips, roll them back, and then turn the heels in and the toes out to the corners of the mat. So we're going to go into our sumo squat. Bring the hands to the chest, tuck the bums under, start to track the knees towards the toes as you bring the body down, trying to bring the hips maybe somewhere in line with the knees. Try not to lean forward, keep the shoulders over the hips, holding for a count of 10, 9, 8, squeeze the bum, 7, 6, 5, 4, maybe come a bit lower, 3, 2, 1. Raise the hands up to the ceiling, 5-pointed star. Hold it in 5-pointed star for a breath. Relax the shoulders down, lengthen out through the arms. Grow some space through those collarbones. Taking it back to another sumo squat for 10. Bring the hands together, hands to the chest. Trap the knees towards the toes. Sink those hips as low as you can go for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reach the hands back up, 5-pointed star. Bring the hands then to the hips, heel toe the feet into the middle. So we're going to take our figure 4 balance and we're going to hold it for a fair few breaths. I'll mirror image you, bring your weight onto your right foot and lift your left knee up to hip height. Turn the knee out, left ankle onto the top of the right thigh. Bring the hands together at the chest, find a focal point, and then sink in to that right leg, turning that left knee out as much as you can. Toes of that left foot coming back to the shins. Holding in focus. Strengthening those thighs. Stretching through those muscles. Breathing easily. Use that breath as your focus. another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Straighten up through the standing leg. Bring the other leg down, take a paddle of the feet, roll of the shoulders. This time on the last side, bring your weight into your left foot. Bring the hands onto the hips, raise up your right knee, turn it out. Bring that foot onto the top of that thigh, bend into the knee. Bring the hands together at the chest. Gaze to something that's not moving in front of you. Get that external hip rotation on the right side. The strengthening of the left leg. Holding here for a good few breaths. Maybe sink those hips a little lower, but keep those chests up. Use that anchor of the breath, that focus. Reduce the monkey chatter by bringing a focus to something else. For another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Straighten up through that standing leg. Release that right foot back to the mat. Take a paddle of those feet. So we're going to bring ourselves down into a yogic squat. So bring the feet out to the edges of the mat. Heels in, toes out, hands together at the chest. Start to bend into those knees, bringing those bums down as low as you can, starting with the elbows to push those knees out. Lift up through the chest, close the eyes, and just take a good few moments here just to notice how the whole of your body's feeling right now, how those shoulders are feeling, how those hips are feeling, the ankles and the knees, the wrists and the elbows, the back of the body, the spine, from the sacrum through to the lumbar, up through the thoracic, up to the cervical spine. How does the space in the head feel? Is things telling you that they're hurting? Try and just talk to them. Pain is just a French word for bread. And I know there's one person who'll be doing this practice that will have a giggle of that. So we're going to take the elbows away, but try and keep those knees out where they are. So now we're not using any external help. So we're trying to squeeze those bum cheeks to keep those knees out, holding it here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring the hands behind, bums into the centre of the mat, feet to the front of the mat. Last little bit of work, so a little bit of hip flexor work. You either love or hate this pose, boat pose. You can take any variation you wish to go for. We'll be doing 3 boats, holding for a count of 15 on each one. So if you need to hold on to the knees, hold on to the knees. If you want to go with bent knees or straight legs or lifting the arms, whichever works for you. Find that space between the sit bones and the lower spine. Relax the shoulders, lift the chest. Find your balancing point, lift both feet. Either hold it here or arms out in front or legs straight, whichever feels most comfortable for you. And we're going to hold for 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, lift the chest, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cross the feet, bend the knees, just allow those knees to drop out to the sides. Maybe just have a little rock of those hips. And again, we're going to take it back into boat. So find yourself into that boat position. Balancing point, lift the legs. Maybe release the hands, maybe straighten the legs. For 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the feet, cross the legs, let the legs drop out to the sides. Maybe just have a little rock. Remember, it's supported or not, your choice. You can maybe have the hands out in front of you, or maybe lengthen those limbs a little more to challenge it a little more. We have one more count of 15. So bring that body again back to that balancing point. Bring the feet up. Bring the body to wherever you want it to be. For 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. If you was with me, I was shaking a lot. If you've got both the long limbs of the arms and the legs, that really takes a lot of the hip flexors, a lot of the core muscles. When you've taken a little stretch through the back, make your way onto the floor. Bring your bum into the centre, the feet into the bum, hands down by the sides of the body, palms facing down. We're going to take it into a long bridge hold, using the glute strength to keep the hips lifted. Push into the feet, so we're going to stretch these hip flexors that have just been contracted. Push into the feet, slowly raise up through those hips. Squeeze the bum, try not let the knees come and splay apart. Maybe interlace the fingers by rolling the shoulder blades under, interlacing the hands under the bum. Try and squeeze the palms together, push the hips higher. Trying to squeeze that bum as much as you can to engage. We obviously activate one muscle to lengthen another. They work in pairs. So the glutes work with the hips, the hamstrings work with the quads, the biceps with the triceps, the pectoral muscles with the rhomboid muscles. So everything, if we contract one side, it will lengthen the other. Lift those hips a little higher. Create space through the back of the neck. Holding it for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the hands, release the shoulders. Slowly bring those hips back down to the mat. Then take the knees over to your right side. Bring the knees up towards the chest. Bring the right hand onto the left knee to squeeze it down. Take a twist and turn of the head to the left hand. Feel that rotation through the waist. Just let gravity take a hold, just to neutralise that spine before we make our way into some relaxation. You've worked hard. Always a challenge to hold poses a little longer. Those muscles will tell you tomorrow that they've been working harder than what they will probably do if you're flowing a class. Always good to take these practices on. Do variety. The body has muscle memory and gets used to certain ways. So variety is a good way to confuse it, to work it. Having another breath in this rotation, this direction. And then bring those knees through centre. Take those knees now over to your left side. Squeeze the knees up in towards the chest. And then turn and bring that right shoulder back to the mat. Bring the left hand onto the top of the right knee to get that full expression of twist. Protect that lower back by tucking the tailbone down. Holding it here just for a few breaths. Unravelling that spine from all its planes of movement. When you do a yoga class, we take everything in every direction, opening hips, opening shoulders, closing shoulders, extension, flexion, lateral flexion, rotation, circumduction, you name it, we do it. Your next breath in, bring those knees back into the centre and squeeze the knees into the chest because we've rotated the body in after back bends and forward folds. It's nice and safe now to bring those knees in. Relax and plug the shoulders down. Take circles with the knees in one direction, get into that lower back. Big round circles. And then take those circles the other way. Bring those knees into the chest, squeeze them tight. And then release the feet, send them long to the ends of the mat. Let the feet drop out to the sides. Push into the heels, tuck the tailbone to the front of the mat, take the arch out of the lower spine, give the hips a rock. Bring the hands down by the sides of the body, turn the palms up. Let the shoulders go down towards the hips. Turn the head in one direction. Back through centre, take it over to the other side. Back into the middle. Take a long, deep breath in. Long breath out. Let that body relax into the mat. Take a scan from the head down to the fingertips, down to the toe tips. If anything's still holding tension, give those muscles a squeeze and then let those muscles release. Take another long, deep breath in. Long breath out. Let the tongue drop away from the roof of the mouth. Let the eyes gently close. The lips gently part. Soften the jaw, soften the forehead. Think about those shoulders feeling heavy. The upper limbs, the arms, the fingers, all the extremities of the upper body. The spine from the neck down to the sacrum, the tailbone. The shoulders, the collarbones, the ribs, the belly. Hip bones and the sit bones. Those lower limbs heavy, the legs. The extremities of the toes, space between them. Noticing everything that's touching the floor. Each in-breath creates a little lightness and lift. Each out-breath, that body relaxes and gets a little more supported by the earth. Take a few moments now just to consolidate everything your body's just done. Thanking every part of the body for practice. bringing some movement back into the fingers. Unless you wish to stay here for a little longer, then pause me. If you're coming with me, stretching through the fingertips, stretching through the toes, maybe arching into that lower back, and then bringing those hands up and over, bringing the knees into the chest. Just give those knees a squeeze, maybe have a little rock from side to side. And then taking a roll over onto a side, make a pillow with the hands. Take a long deep breath here, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then pushing into that right hand or left hand to bring that body up into a seated position, crossing the legs, relaxing through the hips, placing the hands on top of the thighs. Take a breath in, bring the hands up and over the head, palms together at the top. Take a breath out, bring the hands to the chest, soft gaze to the floor. Have peace in your thoughts, have peace in your words, have peace in your hearts. From my heart to yours, Namaste.